Hey guys, this is chess coach Andrew Rankin. Today I'm starting a new series called Kaizhen Chess. Kaizen, or Kaizhen in Chinese, is the word for continuous improvement. I'm going to play 1510 rapid games, moving up the rating ladder, starting at 1500, and hopefully hitting my current rating of 2350, and then ideally you can follow my journey to hitting 2400 and above. So without further ado, let's begin. So I'm going to talk you guys through my thinking process, and hopefully it will be very helpful for you guys. So I always like to wish my opponents hello and good luck. You guys can't see the chat, but I sent it already. And why don't we follow with our nice solid black repertoire and play a Caro Kann defense. So yeah, this is the account Kaizhen Chess 1510. Our opponent puts two pawns in the center, very principled, and now it's time for us to fight back, so let's play d5, and he takes right away. Alright, if we take back, is he going to play a Panov? Is he going to play bishop to d3? That's what International Master John Donaldson played against me. If we take back towards the center with the pawn, we obviously get this square for the knight. So I don't see any reason why we shouldn't do that. So let's continue with that. He does play bishop to d3. That's what the International Master played over the board when I played against him. And let's develop our knight to the center, put some pressure on d4. Now I think he'll play c3. He develops the knight. This allows us two moves. Or I should say one move with two ideas. The first is develop our light square bishop so that we can play the move e6. The second is to pin the knight, and by pinning the knight we also put pressure on his d4 pawn. So let's go ahead and play bishop to g4. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't do that. He plays the move c3, and now I think we should just play the move e6. After the move e6, we have black's traded the c pawn for white's e pawn, and this is called the Carlsbad pawn structure, and it really tells us where we want to be attacking. So he's going to be attacking us on the king side, and we should be attacking him on the queen side with a minority attack sometime in the future. Let's go ahead and play e6. He questions the bishop. Now we have two options. We could take, queen takes, we could drop back. I don't see any reason why we should take and not drop back. Normally if the bishop is here on b5, then dropping back g4, and then bishop to g6, and then the knight jumps into e5 with some pretty strong pressure and control over the center can be very annoying. But in this position, his bishop is sitting on d3, and maybe trading off the light square bishops in the future would be a good idea. So why don't we keep the bishops on the board and just drop our light square bishop back. Develops the knight to d2. That makes sense. I think he's going to come over to the king side. Let's check and see this opponent's history. He's played 1,233 games, and he's 1499. So he's got a nice established rating. That's good to know. So far he's playing pretty well. So now we have two candidate moves. We need to develop our king side, so bishop to d6 and knight to f6. So I think I want to develop the bishop first. And the knight might go to e7, or it might go to f6. He castles right away. Now do we want to play knight to f6 or knight to e7? Probably you're thinking, well, just the simple knight to f6 makes sense, but this actually allows us to play f6, e5 in the future and go for a central pawn roller, which I like to do when I'm playing white. And we have a Queen's Gambit declined exchange variation. Hopefully we'll get some future videos in that. Really, what do we want to do? This or this? I do like this move because when we drop back, we can take with the knight and not damage our pawn structure. The knight can also jump here and put added pressure on the center if, for example, this creates an isolated pawn. Do we have any Greek gifts in the future? If we go here, let's say here, castles, bishop takes, king takes, knight moves here, check. No, then we just take with the queen because the knight's in the way. So yeah, I think we can play this. Yep, he does play rook to e1. So I'm guessing the knight's going to come around this way. So now after we castle, if he plays knight to f1, let's say we continue with a normal improving move like rook to c8. Then does he have a Greek gift? Take. Oh, he does have this. Our queen is not able to take back because the knight's in the way. Check and we move, and then I think he wins the bishop. So castles, when he moves the bishop, or the knight to f1, I think we need to play bishop to g6. Well, if this is his best piece, why not trade it off? Can't really go here because then he has g4. So yeah, why don't we just trade that piece off? Just brings the knight over, very logical. But now I'm thinking queen to c7. Really questioning this knight. Also, the bishop here, not going to be very useful because the knight's no longer be pinned. And it stops this idea because we have 1, 2, potentially 3 attackers and he only has 2 defenders. So is there anything wrong with queen to c7? I don't think so. Opponent has 16 minutes and we have 10. So far they've been blitzing out all their moves, but I think their moves all make sense. I do like the tension between the light square bishops. I think in the future it's going to cause him to lose a tempo. For example, if he moves his queen to c2, he might get himself into trouble with knight b4 ideas. For example, queen c2, knight b4. If he takes, queen takes, bishop takes, we win the bishop pair and we damage his pawn structure. So a lot of times they'll play queen to e2, which supports the knight coming into e5. But if the knight jumps into e5 right away, his queen ends up overloaded after bishop takes, attacking the queen, so the queen takes, and then the knight is missing a defender, and we can take and win a pawn. So still quite a few things that white needs to do before he can sink a knight into e5. So our threat right now is pretty simple. Just bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, and yeah, we open up files against our king, and we give up the bishop pair. So we'll consider it. We don't have to play it. It's always nice to win a pawn and open up his king, though. So the dark squares around his king will become very weak. I think he wanted to play a move like this, attacking my bishop. But I don't really care. Even if he takes and I take with the knight and he takes again and I take with the pawn, I mean, this pawn structure is just super solid. It takes him basically the h pawn to go away, the pawn to go up, the king to go up, and there's rooks to come over and then like double stack on the h file. That's the only time that your missing h-pawn, when it takes on g6, becomes a real threat. Other than that, your pawn structure is super solid. It's not, you know, ideal going into the end game, but it's also not going to cause you really any problems in the end game. Sometimes doubled pawns in the end game can actually help you facilitate pawn pushes. For example, you push a pawn, it trades off, and then you have a pawn right behind it that's ready to push forward. So hopefully we can play some Queen's Gambit declined exchange variations, and I can show you guys this exact same setup with the white pieces against black. So that's what I love about the Caro Kann and the Queen's Gambit declined, is that the pawn structures are just so similar that you can transpose ideas from the Caro Kann to the Queen's Gambit and back. The ideas are so similar, and what's actually cool is that you can then start to build your ideas. So I used to be a huge fan of the minority attack. I would just quickly rush out rook to b8 and then b5, b4 and damage the pawn structure on the queen side, play against that, and usually go pawn up in an endgame and then convert. But now I'm a bigger fan of some central pawn rollers like f6, e5, and just slaughtering him on the king side and in the center. Because you notice we actually have a central pawn majority. We also have a pawn majority on the king side, so it's 3 pawns against 4. So he does play knight to g4. I guess he's just trying to get rid of defenders against my king, but can we just go ahead and play pawn takes, queen takes? And if we end up trading pieces, I can even take back with the queen, so I don't even damage my pawn structure. What if I play bishop takes, knight takes, bishop takes, check, king takes, then knight takes? We win a pawn. I guess it's the same thing. We're winning this pawn. The only thing I'm hesitant about is the fact that this pawn structure is just made for like having light squared pawns and a dark squared bishop to complement it. So why on earth do we want to give up our dark squared bishop? Could trade bishops, activate his queen, and then go for a minority attack. Actually, we could trade bishops, queen takes. I really don't like the 2 knights just hovering over my king side and just having 1 knight to defend against, in theory, 4 pieces, 3 more attacking pieces than defenders. That's not so great. So that kind of rules out bishop takes bishop. Even though after bishop takes bishop, queen takes, we can play the move b5 right away. And if he takes with the queen, then we slide the rook over, the queen moves. I guess he does have this move, so that doesn't quite work. Also, the bishop's still stuck on c1, so do we want to attack now? I mean, look at his development. He's so underdeveloped. Usually that means you want to attack. Also, if we take here, our queen comes over to the king side. The king side is weaker, and this knight is ready to jump in. Yeah, let's pull the trigger. Let's see, do we have to worry about any of this? I don't think so. Our knights are guarding each other, and this knight's just ready to jump over. So let's do it. If he takes, I think I'll take with the knight. He takes with the pawn. I don't think this was the best variation. I thought knight takes was best, because then he has this option of the check if I play the wrong move order. Now I think just queen takes. Knight takes, and we could even get this knight over. Get knights like on these squares and just start pummeling his king side. So we got 2 knights against 2 bishops. So the key is getting my knights to good squares. Central squares. Seize the center. Do we take with the queen? Or do we take with the pawn? Then we lose this guy, but then check. Or even here, threatens mate. Here, here, here. How does he stop mate? Okay, so if we take here, this is a massive threat. So he has to play. Okay, so F takes, rook takes, rook F2, I think just wins the game on the spot. So F takes, rook here or here, I think are the only ways. Probably rook to F1 is the best, but then don't we have rook takes, queen takes, rook F8. Queen has to move. Say the queen goes here, threatening the check, but then we bring the rook up anyway. Check here. We get back rank mated. Okay, so that doesn't work. So F takes, rook F1, rook takes, queen takes, rook F8, queen to E2. Rook F6. I don't love it. Our knight's kind of bad. After we bring the rook over and the queen goes here, can we just play knight to D8, protecting the pawn, threatening rook here? But the queen's here, and then he just goes bishop here, and I think he's solid. And we still have this weak pawn. So I think pawn takes is best. I mean, here, here, if we don't take, what if we just bring the knight? What about queen takes? I do like queen takes. Where's our attack after queen takes? Where's our plan after queen takes? The minority attack? Yeah, we're up a pawn. Why damage our pawn structure? Why complicate things? He sacrificed the bishop pair unnecessarily. We also have the knight can come here. That looks actually really strong, hitting this pawn, and then if he guards with the rook, then we have nice pressure along this diagonal. So where's he going here? I don't think that's really a big threat. About here, here, here. He doesn't have this, then we take. So, and if he goes here, then we can. Then when we go here, we attack the bishop. So knight a5, queen a4, knight jumps in. Then this. Yeah, let's centralize the knight. So ideally, we trade queens and rooks, and we just get into a queen and a good knight versus bad bishop endgame. So he goes bishop there, but I don't really understand why. Isn't this just a fork? I mean, I don't really want to take and let his rook take back and then swing over to attack the king. That looks kind of annoying. I think we need to start with this kind of attack, but the bishop does cover this. Now we have this. And obviously we should kind of cover our bases. Here I like that the bishop covers. Sorry, I like that the knight defends b6. So we can always play a move like a5, a4. Trying to stop, you know, like b3 ideas. But also the knight can jump into this square, so I do like that as well. So he covers this. I kind of like this idea, which attacks this pawn in case he ever plays, you know, gets aggressive with b3. Then when the knight moves, like takes, then this pawn is hanging. I do like that. That looks pretty good. It's also on a light square. I want to put more of my pieces on light squares. This rook might be a little stuck. Isn't that just a free rook? So that's a little bit anticlimactic. I was kind of hoping that this game would end a little bit better than that, but yep. And our opponent was playing so well. All right, let's wish him a good game. And now let's do the analysis. So let's see what the board thinks about this position before he blunders. So it is minus 1.6. Let me see if you guys can see that. You can. That's awesome. I just realized the video's been frozen for a while. That's not so great. I don't know why it did that. All right, let's do the analysis. Hopefully I can fix the video for future videos. Let's go to the beginning. So we have a Caro Kann defense, exchange, bishop d3 makes sense. Bishop g4, c3. Yep, there is this move queen c7. I usually play that move, but today I just wanted to play e6. Change things up. And bishop back is the best move. That's good to know. Now we stop the bishop from ever coming out here. Castles, and black's already better here. And yeah, top engine move, knight to e7. Yeah, that's what I thought. But after castles, wow, he has the sacrifice. It still works. Oh, right, of course, because the queen doesn't guard this square. So yeah, he does have that. Check, and then can't we go up though? Can I just trade? Okay. So I saw the tactic, and then I didn't realize that, yeah, the knight was, or the queen was blocked, so castling blundered that tactic, but that's okay. So knight to e7 before bishop to g6. Or sorry, bishop to g6 after knight to e7 before castling. So we take. Is that the best move? Yeah. See if the video is still working. It is. He took here. We took with the knight. And now, yeah, this is really a poor move. Like, if you're going to be down a pawn but have the bishop pair, you really got to, you know, milk that for everything it's worth. Now, queen takes was best here. That's what I thought. It wanted h6. That makes sense. Make some luft. It wanted knight to d2. Somehow it thinks that's winning. Oh, because we have this check. Because the pawn is pinned. Ooh, that's nasty. So the queen has to go back. Otherwise, you're just going to lose the exchange. Huh. Okay. Tactics. And then, yeah. We play just a simple improving move, and he blunders. Alright, guys. Well, hopefully you found that useful, and I'll catch you for the next one. Take care. Bye.